Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. Welcome aboard. We have a great show for you today, but don't we try to have a great, not try, we have a great show for you every day. Anyway, folks, we have a great two shows for you every day. Let me go ahead and get all our channels set up appropriately. And that's what I'm doing right now. Anyway, folks, how's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Para ver cómo vamos a comenzar esta vaina. Vamos a ver. Welcome aboard, ABQ, watching from Brooklyn, New York. He has reasserted his place as numero uno in the chat. First one in. We also have coming in second into the channel, Senor Patrick Magner, who says meow. How you doing, Patrick? Great to see you here. And of course, Patrick is out of Houston. Michael out of Brooklyn, New York. We've got Yvette Avery Herod out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have, para ver quién más está aquí, Harry Denson out of Missouri City, Texas. And we have, the chat started late on the Substack, so I don't have my list yet. So I tell you, Substack guys, go ahead and throw your weight out there. Marge KJ is in the house. She just joined. And keep throwing yourself out there like Joe Nicholas from Venice Beach is here too. Both Joe and Nicholas are in the house from Los Angeles, California, and Venice Beach. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to have a good show. What are we going to talk about today? The first thing I'm going to play out is an interview, local. This one is a bit local. Dexter McCoy is actually running for commissioner. Young guy running to become the county judge. Steve Berger, welcome aboard. Patrick Magnus says, that's me, Radin. I've told you we have similar concerns. All right. Let's see. What are those similar concerns? Egberto, please play sold car for gas money clip. Huh? Where is that? What is that? Before I play it, assure me that there's no music in there. The other day I got some music that gave me some trouble. So is there no music in it? Please make sure and then let me know. Make sure and let me know, and then I'll go ahead and do it. No music? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and let me do it for you. Para ver dónde está. It's on Instagram, sold car for gas money on Instagram. Let me go ahead and see that. Let's go ahead and set that up first. I got to make sure that I have everything set up for you. I'm going on Face with my regulars here. You know, you guys love when you guys give me some stuff. Let's go ahead and see if I can actually get that done. All right, let's move that on. It looks like I'll be able to do it, my dear brothers. Okay. Wait a minute. I don't what I clicked on that. Let me show you guys what come up. Is that what I'm supposed to play? Guys, respond. Is that what I'm supposed to play or not? See the picture on the screen. It's on the screen. All right, I'll start it off and then you guys can tell me if this is what you meant. Let's go ahead and do it. All right. Let's start that again.
Mis videos. ¿Por qué? Porque hay muchos dominicanos que tienen curiosidad y preguntan qué.
No, I know that's not what you're talking about because I know you guys aren't going to do Spanish. All right, that is from let's see. That is the link that came up there. Let me try it one more time and see if something else comes up, but that's the link that was provided, sold gas for no money or whatever that is. Let's see. Let's see. Para ver. Okay, hold on a second, guys. I'm going to try that again and see if it's correct or not. All right, let's see if that's it or not. Let's see what happens this time around. Para ver. All right, let's see.
A list of all the toxic chemical regulations that Trump has taken away over the past year. Part 1. Number 1, he took away the limits for PFAS in our drinking water. It also would have taken out lots of lead and other contaminants as well. Number 2, he doubled the amount of formaldehyde that would now be allowed in our consumer products. And formaldehyde causes cancer as well. Number 3, he took away the mandatory asbestos testing for your cosmetics. Number 4, he delayed PFAS contamination cleanup in and around military bases. This means that our veterans and their families are now at higher risk of getting cancer. It also means that all of us are at higher risk of getting cancer because they're never going to degrade on their own, and so it will eventually get into our water supply and air. Number 5, I believe the total is 5 PFAS, right, cancer-causing pesticides are now allowed to be sprayed in unlimited amounts all over our food. Number 6, little to no food safety inspection on our imported food, which is around 15 to 20% of our entire food supply. Number 7, no mandated reporting on the amount of pesticides that are being sprayed on our food. In the past, farms had to tell you what pesticides they were spraying on their foods and in what amounts. Number 8, massive exemptions on companies reporting on what PFAS, again, cancer-causing toxic chemicals, they're actually using and dumping, so we would be able to keep track of like who is doing what, and now there's no mandated reporting, so we have no idea. Number 9, the EPA removed limits on the amounts of slaughterhouse waste that could be dumped into our drinking water. This is things like blood and feces. Here's a list of all the toxic chemical regulations that Trump has taken away.
Okay, I don't know where that music came from, but apparently it was there somewhere. But anyhow, that's good information. We'll see if we get any issues with that music. That is a pretty standard music, so I'm hoping that we don't. Anyhow, thank you for that, Mr. Rudnin. Appreciate that. Let's see. I think Magner, you had one as well. I think you texted me that one. Uh, where is the link though? You just said you had a piece to share. My brother Patrick, where is that? And I'll go ahead and do that for you. Where is the link that you're talking about? Uh, I don't see it. Let me go back up and see if I see it anywhere. And then if I see it, I will go ahead and I will play it. Okay, Magner, I don't see it. I don't see it. If you have a link, tell me after. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the commissioner, and then we'll move on from there. But I need to get this piece out for those of us in Texas and vicinity in Fort Bend County. We need to go ahead and listen to this one here. Everybody should listen to it, but here's specific. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, we're honored to have the county commissioner out of Fort Bend County, who is now running for the whole thing, the county judge. Welcome, Dexter McCoy. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well.
Well, let me tell you, why county judge? Now, you've served as county commissioner. What gaps in leadership or policy convince you that the county needs a new judge, and what makes you the person that should be that judge?
Yeah, well, we're living in some very precarious times where we see politicians who are more focused on fighting for themselves and fighting for the issues of the people of our county. You probably know this well, living here in the greater Houston area, that you read more about scandal in Fort Bend County than you do about the success of our people. And so being from this community, having been raised in this community, now raising my own children in this community, I had a decision to make. Either I was going to be okay with the status quo and thing in business as usual, or really take up the mantle to take on the fight for the people. I believe I'm the person for this job because, like I said, I've invested in this community. Having grown up here, this community created all the opportunities that I've enjoyed in my lifetime. I've had the pleasure of taking on the fight in the Obama administration. helping our nation's students access quality education. I brought that fight right back home, working as an administrator in Fort Bend ISD. But prior to running for commissioner, I was actually chief of staff to the county judge. So I understand what the role entails. I understand the sort of leadership that we need, and I'm looking to bring that fight for the
Now, you just
people.
mentioned that you were the former chief of staff for the current county judge, who's
Mhm.
currently experiences experiencing his own problems.
Mhm.
Um, how are you addressing that and not making that cloud all the things you have done for Fort Bend County, and not only what you've done for Fort Bend County, but having been in his office?
Yep. And so, my time in his office ended because we had a misalignment on our approach to leadership in this community. And I think you've seen us in my time since being on Commissioner's Court. He and I often are not on the same page because I'm about doing the deep work. And that doesn't always mean that we're chasing a microphone and jumping in front of a camera. But I think my record speaks for itself. We've done some incredible things like raise the minimum wage for county employees. We've brought paid parental leave for all of our county employees. We've built the African American Heritage Monument, and we're breaking ground on the Black Cowboy Museum. And we've brought broadband services and the internet access to parts of our community who still today do not have it. Those are the sorts of things that our community expects us to work on. And those are the things that I'm really proud to have accomplished since being in office.
In other words, effectively serve the people. Montgomery County is one of the fastest growing counties in Texas. How would
Yeah.
you balance smart development with flood control, traffic mitigation, and environment protection? Because those all go hand in hand.
Mhm. Yep. So you're right. Fort Bend County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Texas. We have an incredibly diverse population. Over a third of our residents are foreign born. People flock to Fort Bend County from all over the world. But because we are a rapidly growing county, our challenge is to be able to account for that growth, control that growth. It's a high bar. One of the major issues that we have in Fort Bend County is transportation infrastructure. Soon we're going to be over 1 million people in population, where just 30 years ago we were fewer than a quarter of a million people in the entire county. And so trying to find ways to keep up with that growth by, planning ahead for our traffic needs, making a master plan for where we're going in our major thoroughfares, but also thinking about how we do things like bus rapid transit in our community to connect us into the core of Houston so that we take more cars off of the road. But we have to fight to make our community more affordable because, me and my wife, we built our first home in this community when we were 28 years old. A 28-year-old starting their career now
You
couldn't
can't.
do that
Yeah.
because it just financially doesn't make sense. And then we have seniors who are losing their homes because of rising homeowners insurance and property tax bills. And so those are things that we have to tackle. And I'll just say this last part to your point about drainage. We are actually right now completing a drainage study for that exact reason, to make sure that we are making those investments in regional detention, that we are making improvements to our drainage channels so that this new growth doesn't cause flooding in the homes of our existing residents.
I can tell you, Fort Bennett County is a beautiful county. We had an event, the Panamanian event out there recently, and I hadn't been to Fort Bend in a very long time,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
didn't recognize it at all. It
that's
is
right. It's
a
changing.
it's a big city in its own,
Mhm.
well-developed city in its own right. So it does need to have controlled growth in a manner that serves the people. Let's talk a little bit about healthcare. What's your intended? Harris County, with all the problems we have a robust healthcare system on a county wide. What's your intentions on with that in Fort Bend?
Yeah, this is a big topic for me. I actually sit on the board of the Oak Bend Medical Center, which is our county's only public hospital. And so I understand very keenly the need for accessible healthcare. We brought the first residency medical training program to Fort Bend County, and that's starting this coming fall, where we have residents who will be trained for a doctor in osteopathic medicine program to be able to actually understand how to treat folks who come from poor communities. And to understand their needs. We just broke ground last week on the Mission Bend Senior Center, which is a 24,000 square foot facility that will include a full clinic. That's in partnership with Access Health, where whole families will be able to get access to healthcare. We have to make healthcare accessible to where our residents are by locating clinics and resources in their community. But we also have to make sure that for those folks who don't have health insurance coverage, and it's a high number in Fort Bend County, over 70% of those who are uninsured in Fort Bend are actually working but not provided insurance through their employer. That's the awful part about our health insurance system in America. But how we take care of the indigent, how we take care of the uninsured is a challenge that we're going to have to take on and explore what that looks like in partnership with our community.
Now, you are young. There is a whole lot of good old boys out there,
Yeah.
uh, and many, and they know how to work the system and convince folks that somehow it's preferable to have that experience. Now, you've gained your experience with having been the county commissioner, but
Mhm.
there are still people that may need some convincing. What would you say to them? Why you know that at this level you are ready to do the job? You can do the job that the current judge is doing right now and doing a
Yeah.
better job at it.
Yeah. Often I've been the youngest person in the room my entire career. At 27 years old, I was managing people who were twice my age, and older than my parents. And it's just been what I have lack in years, I make up for in wisdom that I've gained by listening and learning. I don't pretend to know it all. I surround myself with good people who can advise me on what it is that needs to get done. And I have a great ability to build strong teams. But I'll tell you this, in this race, we've had probably 10 or 12 candidate forums with all of the candidates who are running for this office on both the Republican and Democratic side. And I think if you go back and watch any of those forums side by side, I am the most knowledgeable about what this job entails. And I can speak with clarity about what our community needs and specificity. Why? Because I've taken the time to learn what are the issues by being in the community. I've held over 37 town hall meetings in just the past 3.5 years that I've been in office. I've held more town hall meetings in my 3.5 years than many of my colleagues have held their entire career, because I don't believe I can appropriately serve the people unless I'm on the ground with them, understanding their issues, and then bringing the people to the table to help address those. So I'm the only candidate in this race who has both federal and local experience. And I think that means something for a role that requires us to bring money in the form of grant funds here to our county and help to oversee major infrastructure and
I
business
interview a
development.
lot of people. It's clear that you definitely do your homework.
Mhm.
Last question. What did I miss? What should I have asked that I didn't?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would just say that, our community needs leadership right now, and that our community needs leadership that's focused on the people. And so, my family, I'm originally from a small town in Louisiana where the start of my grandparents' driveway was the end of the city limits. My parents were teenagers when I was born. But for the grace of God, first off, and then the value of education in my grandparents' household, I might not be here sitting talking to you. Once my mom graduated from school, we moved here to Houston or to Fort Bend County with my stepdad, and that made all the difference in the world. I love this community and I understand this community because I've been among this community, and now I'm asking to lead this community and bring to it the resources that we need, not only for our folks to survive, but to thrive.
Fort Bend County Commissioner Dexter McCoy and current candidate for county judge. Good luck. Thank you so kindly
Thank
for
you.
having been on Politics Done Right.
Thanks so much for having me.
I've got to say that I was very impressed with this young man. He is competent in the issues way above his actual age. Then again, he worked in the Obama administration for some time. I think the guy is only about 34 years old, and the only person that would have been county commissioner at a younger age, I think, would be Lina Hidalgo, who is our county commission here in Harris County. A very good county commissioner as well, though she's had some issues with the good old boys in our county, but I really like her as well. Anyway, welcome aboard. We've got Lynette is in the house. Dr. Liquid Words in the house. Vegan City, or rather, Vegan Cindy is in the house. Cheryl Elkins is in the house from Massachusetts. Lee Gould, welcome aboard. Alas, we've got para ver, It's Never Happening. I think you've been missing in action for a while. It's Never Happening. If I don't recall it, well, at least I hadn't seen you scroll through. My brother from another mother, Bruce Pollard, says, just stopping by between meetings. Bruce, you must have been pretty busy lately. Stuart Cohen, welcome aboard. Ginger, Beth Andrews, muchas gracias por estar aquí. Vicky, is this our Vicky of Vicky right here in Kingwood, right, Vicky? I can't see the pic very well. M. Hope, welcome aboard. Damaris, Nancy, welcome aboard. K. Haig, Mercy Berger. Muchas gracias a todos que están aquí. Thank you all for being here. Joe says, funny, I'm short, so everyone has been called to me. Now I'm older and everyone is younger than I am. I laugh so much. You should laugh. Circulation does well for the circulation. Eric Hayes from Kingwood at Escasita is here with us as well as Lee the Bearcat. So we have our cadre of MAGA in here as well. Lee Grant is in the house, Montgomery County. Welcome aboard. And Carl Cox from not Powder Springs, Georgia, Riverdale's, Georgia. Thank you guys for being here. I don't think I see Patrick. Yeah, I addressed Patrick already. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia is here with us. And Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome, Harry. I think I called you out already. Okay, folks, I got a lot to cover here. I tell you what, I'm going to do the hunger piece first because I think I want to end with the media thing that occurred. So let me show you graphically what the party who believes in the sanctity of life or who claims to believe in the sanctity of life, who claims to love others, who claim to love humanity, etc. Let me explain to you who they really are. And we have a few in our chat that unless they renounce this is who they are. And you know who you are in the chat because this is what you voted for. I want you guys to listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side. I just ran into a story on Reddit. And then I went ahead and tried to validate that it was really the call made into C-SPAN. You know you have to do all of this, especially in these days of fake news. And after checking this out, it is something that if you don't get tears in your eyes after listening to this woman and her tribulations and what the Republican Party, all of the Republican Party, has put America through, to the least among us. If this doesn't affect your psyche, nothing will. Check this out and then we'll take it on the other side.
And that's what my topic is. I had my annual physical yesterday. I'm 65 years old. I'm legally blind. I'm on disability. I went to my doc and I lost 28 pounds in the last year. I did not need to lose 28 pounds. I did not try to lose 28 pounds. I lost the 28 pounds because I cannot afford to eat anymore. Under Biden, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Under Biden, I was able to put $100 a month away for food, along with my SNAP, and I did okay. I could get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and meat. It is just me. But now, with grocery prices so high, propane, electricity out of this world, I now only allow myself $65 a month for food.
Sharon, are you on SNAP benefits?
Let me tell you, under Joe Biden, I received $80 a month for SNAP. That was taken away from me under Donald Trump. He took it away. He gave me $24 a month. I did receive that for a couple of months. Then he took it down to $12.50 a month. I said, screw you. So I'm not doing that no more. So now I get $65 a month, Mimi. And for them people out there, all these Republicans that are doing flipping well right now, I have 3 potatoes. I have a half a tomato. I have 3 bananas, 1 apple, 1 can of soup, a half a loaf of bread, 1 egg, and 1 can of green beans. I do not get paid until the 3rd. I am disability blind. I cannot drive a car. I'm 15 miles out of town, so I am not able to just trot my butt down to the food shelf. I used to volunteer at the food shelf. I can't even do that anymore. I don't understand. I'd like somebody to explain to me, why is it always the poor people that are helping the poor people? I don't understand. But what I want to say, Mimi, is that it's really close to coming. Like that man said, the end is coming near, and it can't be any more true for me.
Now, they talk about K recoveries. I don't know what we should speak about this being a K. 10% doing very, very well, 1% doing extraordinarily well. That K should have a little foot to the top, or a little hands to the top, and a huge foot going down. This is not something that is happenstance. The starvation of a woman in America was deliberate. The starvation of people in America today is a delivery of the Trump administration and the GOP folks who have acquiesced to his evil in starving the American people. And if you understand what is happening to the least of us, and that the least of us, once they understand that they can make a difference, the landslide that must come in November cannot come soon enough. Because all of this has got to be mitigated. That we have a 65-year-old American citizen that is made to starve, that is losing 28 pounds, not because of illness, not because she needs to diet, but because of what the GOP and the Trump administration has instituted in policy, has had a direct effect on her well-being, on her personhood, on it all. This is what we expressed before the 2024 election would happen. Now it is being realized. We have 2 options. To simply say, we told you so, that's not going to do anything. But what we can say definitively is that you can do something about it, effective now. First of all, vote in Democratic primaries and elect progressives. 2, when the November election comes around, every single Republican, whether in a red district, blue district, purple district, must be voted out. They have put many in mortal danger, and that has got to stop. That's not America. And that is the outright definition of evil. And you know what makes it even more evil? The not caring about it. You know, you play this and that it doesn't have an effect. That it doesn't have an effect on a person. I posted, I did this video, and then I did the corresponding Substack article, and I have all kind of messages that from people who said it breaks my heart. I'm crying. It brought tears to my eyes when I found this stuff and found out it's real. And then I see some people, it's like, well, get a job, and you sit down and it's like the woman lives 16 miles out of town. Before her blindness got too bad, she was out there working at the food bank, helping folks. When she talks about the poor, helping the poor, you know, and we give all these tax breaks, right? You hear this over and over again, but when you see the story, it even shows you how more onerous it is, giving these tax breaks to those who absolutely don't need it. You know, it's a psychological. No, these guys are psychopaths. These people are psychopaths, because if somebody has $100 million and you give them $1 million more in tax breaks that could have spread to thousands of people instead of giving that tax break for $1 million, that person that gets a tax break of $1 million, their marginal propensity to consume, that's a fancy phrase to say, they won't spend any more money after having received that $1 million. If I gave Oprah Winfrey, if I gave Bill Gates $1 billion today, their spending will increase by 0. And that is what people don't understand. The economy, our current economy, is dependent on the circulation of money. And giving rich people money does not help the circulation of money at all. And this has been, I mean, logically it makes sense. But a lot of times people say, well, not because it makes logical sense means it would actually be the behavior. And that's the thing about economics, right? In economics, everything is not scientific. Economics is not a science. Economics is a combination of science and behavior, right? There are certain parts of it that is math, that's science, but there's the other part of it that is human behavior. And in Japan, let's say, where people are predisposed to save, you have to have different types of policies to get people to spend than you would have in the United States. Different kind of policies, right? But in the United States and in just about every other country that follows our economic model, giving money to the wealthy does not make a change to your economy. And that we can see that in every single metric. One of the reasons, if you take a look at Democratic administrations versus Republican administrations, why Democratic administrations are almost twice as effective in growing the economy has much to do with where they spend their money. And it goes this way. If you give rich people's money, you do very little for the economy. They talk about investments. That is a fallacy. However, if you give people who are going to spend that money immediately, they will create demand. And when they create demand, that will create reasons for factories to build. And when factories build, we get that circular loop of economic activity. Economics 101. Evidently, no Republican has gone through that. Come on in, Bobby.
Hey, how you doing, Egberto? Good afternoon.
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, my friend.
I was just the last clip you played. I thought I heard her also say though that under Biden she was still only getting 80. So not only do we need to vote Democratic, but we need to be more progressive and look at things like that. In my opinion.
Yes. Oh, right? No, absolutely so. But remember what she said, right? She was getting more than SNAP. Okay, and that is what she was alluding to. Under Biden, she got remember Biden had there are two things. There was the food stamp assistance, and then there was the other assistance as well. So she could do it, and
Okay, yeah,
on
I
what
might
she was
just be
trying to.
ignorant.
No. Look, we just don't know all the different things. I follow this. Is what I do. Yeah, whatever comes out in law, that
That's
kind
just
of a stuff.
really sad. But I
Yeah,
was thinking you were talking, and then after I thought about that, you were talking about, I guess the parasitic nature of the capitalist. And I was sitting there and I was imagining like a capitalist being like this pinata and like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and they just see all this candy and they're just filling themselves up, and all the they're just taking so much for themselves that all the kids are standing around with nothing, and then, until eventually they find themselves being hung by the neck and all the kids are standing around staring at them holding sticks. And I think
and
that's kind
beating
of
the
where
crap
we're
out
at
of
now.
it.
We're just kind of looking at them. Yeah, and
There's a
then
there's
I
a
mean,
there's a young man. There's a
we're all standing
millionaire.
around now looking with the sticks.
Right. There's a
Yeah.
billionaire name. His name is not Hanauer. Nick Hanauer. He came out with an article talking about the pitchforks, okay? That the pitchforks are coming if we don't do something about it. And that's what's coming, right? But the billionaires are a half a step ahead. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I gave you guys an article that I wrote about these concentration camps that Donald Trump is building, right? What happens is this,
Right.
and hear this story, guys. I want y'all to listen to this because, I don't know if you remember Wall Street, that movie called Wall Street, and there's this the the Kirk Douglas's son, Michael Douglas. He was Gecko, right? And Gecko said greed is good, and greed is what makes the economy work, and all that crap he said, right? And all the capitalists picked up on that, right? They liked that framing because it seemed like it is something that Americans could accept. Yeah, we know greed is good because it makes the economy go around, and which I always say it has always been a lie. And they always say greed is good because most Americans or most people are greedy. And the idea being is that what makes an economy successful is greed. And it's the biggest fallacy out there. First of all, Americans and the people in the world are not greedy. Okay? That's a false statement. If we were all
Can I
greedy,
interject something?
yes, sure, go ahead.
But they say that money changes people, Alberto. You know that. Like somebody who hasn't had a lot of
Yes.
money, suddenly somebody's offering them a bunch of money. They can, a lot of times they're like, oh, I may never get this opportunity again. And somebody that actually might have started off with good intentions, like actually might, and that's, I think, works to their benefit. I think they use that as a tool. Sometimes I almost think that
Let,
the Americans, if we want politics to work right, we all need to pitch in $10 and like actually pay these people to do the right thing. Otherwise, they're just going to take the money from the other side. I mean, it's almost to
let
that
me
point,
just I
in my
want to
opinion.
argue I want to argue that opinion with you, and I'm glad you said it because I think it's important for us to talk about that. Where we talk about money changes people, the only people money changes are the people who are psychopaths. And I don't say that because Nick Hanauer is a multi-millionaire, all right, and he follows the rules, but he also, within getting the millions, acknowledges that you have to pay back into the system. Now remember, all of us are victims of this capitalist system under which we live. That's the system here. Until we change it, that's the system. And how do you perform within the system? I'll give you some people to look up patriotic millionaires, okay? And you learn a whole lot about people and people who have a lot of money and don't see it as something that they have to have more. The patriotic millionaires are more indicative of the group of millionaires that are not psychopaths. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to put out there is to say, I know you say money changes people. Money, it's not the money that changes people, it's peer pressure that changes people. What do I mean by that? Let's say you, Bobby, you became a multimillionaire overnight, right? You still have the values that Bobby
Okay.
has. But then you are, because of your status now, you have a lot of people that you're hanging with, right? And you all have these new ways of thinking, right? So let's say you live in Houston, you become a multimillionaire, and then you start hanging out with Hunts and all these other guys, and it turns out that the group that you begin to hang out with are strict Republicans who don't want to pay taxes, etc., etc., etc. That peer pressure alone will actually affect you. And let me tell you the test I did for that. I listened to I earlier on in my political rumblings. I listened to Rush Limbaugh solid for a week, not listening to progressive radio. In those days, it was Air America Radio and some others. I listened to, and let me tell you, you would not imagine the effect that just hearing that in your head 24/7 will actually have on distorting your brain. So what I'm saying is there are good people out there, and I don't buy into having money changing people. It's more having money gives you the power to be who you really are on it, because I
I
know a
agree
lot of
with that.
people
Yeah,
with,
that's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that.
right. I have a lot of people with means, and let me tell you this. Okay, I'm at KPFT, and we do the fundraisers and all that kind of stuff. And you have people that would come in and they would go ahead and give a whole bunch of money, and then they'll say something like, I'm doing my part back. Let me. I'm going to call out somebody right now. Somebody that built himself from scratch and has a lot of money right now. One of the callers that you hear me address, real older guy. He gives so much money to KPFT, that station, and he says, "What am I going to do with it? When I drop dead?" And he helps us out, etc., etc., etc.
Are you talking
I'm
about
telling
Bruce?
you, not Bruce, another one. I'm not going to call his
Okay,
name specifically, but I'm going to call his name.
okay. Okay.
But let me, but let me just say this: there are good people, and look in the chat. I'm looking at good people that I don't know how much they have, but it is clear that they have disposable income that they put it to use. The other day, a doctor, uh, I'm not going to throw his name out here either. He heard me speaking at KPFT, and he said, we have to do something for you too. And suddenly, a bit of change appeared in a PayPal account. I mean, what I'm saying is there are people out there. There are people out there who say, I have a lot. I want to do two things. I want to help others, and I want to help people who are helping others. And again, it is a personal thing. Let me tell you also, there was a time before I decided to go crazy and become a full-time activist. I remember the first time when my product started to sell, and I made a bunch of money. And that that year, the entire family, the kind of gifts that they were getting, and then you go to Walmart and you have the bells and things going, and I was just throwing stuff everywhere. And my wife was like, "Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "Look, uh, this was a fortune that came on. Of course, I'm going to do that." And I know a lot of folks that I hang with that do the same. And it, I must tell you, it is really not the money that corrupts. It's the peer pressure or those that are born as psychopaths. Because most people are good and most people want to help other people. Anything else you want to add before I move on
Hmm.
to the last subject, my brother?
Just I have one last quick thought. I think about perspective and like how some people's greed has like no end though. Like a person might say, if I can ever just get like $1 million yacht, then and have a house and $1 million yacht, I would consider that I've made it. And maybe they finally buy that $1 million yacht, but now they're hanging out in the marina and they've got like this $1 million yacht, sitting next to $100 million yacht, and suddenly they feel, even though they have $1 million yacht, now suddenly looking at that they feel poor again and so their
Yeah,
whole paradigm
that's a peer pressure.
of how
That's the
much
peer
they
pressure
need,
part.
how much they feel they need,
Right.
just increases. But anyway, have a good
That's
afternoon. It
a
was nice talking with you.
thank you, Bobby. You have a good one. Cheryl says, Egberto, I totally agree with you. I don't think knowing the value of a dollar helps too. There you go. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Cheryl. Exactamente that way. All right. let's go with the last subject. As by now, everybody would have heard that Netflix is no longer trying to get CNN and these other stations. It's now going to Paramount. Paramount, who Larry Ellis' son, I think, is the one running it, had a meeting with Donald Trump recently, and I guess the guy at Netflix likely too, and realized to no avail. Paramount gave a bigger offer, and Netflix says, you can have it. You can have it. So now we have the same people controlling CBS all in a kind of way that will also be controlling CNN, which also controls TikTok, which also control many other groups here. I want to play you a piece of this segment that just played on MS Now. Because what I want to show you, when we talk a lot about independent media, we're not BSing about what's about to hit us. So I want to play this for you, and then I'll give the proper narrative. Let's take it here.
Netflix says it is walking away from its deal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, clearing the path for Paramount to now acquire the company. Paramount's latest offer raised its bid for the entire company to $31 per share. Now that's above Netflix's offer of less than $28 a share for just Warner's studio and streaming business. Netflix calling the new price it would have to pay to acquire WBD no longer financially attractive. Paramount has also agreed to pay a nearly $3 billion breakup fee to Netflix. The proposed merger of Warner Brothers and the David Ellison-owned Paramount has raised alarm bells for some because of antitrust concerns, as well as Ellison and his father's close relationship with President Trump. Paramount went at this bid more than once, and during that process, David Ellison, we know, met privately with Donald Trump. The Netflix CEO also had meetings at the White House just yesterday. So what changed between Paramount's initial offer being rejected to Paramount appearing to be on this glide path?
Well, something clearly happened, or it seems to have happened at the White House yesterday when Ted Sarandos met with Donald Trump's chief of staff and the Department of Justice. And let's remind viewers, or Donald Trump really wanted this deal to include CNN. He said as much out loud in late December. He said any deal for Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, should include CNN changing ownership hands, because he hates CNN. He's hated CNN for the last 10 years, and he wants to change the editorial direction of CNN. David Ellison, a ally of his, really a MAGA-friendly owner, has come and had offered to buy all of Warner Brothers Discovery, including CNN. This Netflix deal was not going to include CNN. It was going to end up having that network being spun off into an independent entity. And so Donald Trump probably didn't like that deal very much and wanted Ellison, who is already revamping CBS News to be more friendly to his administration, to also own CNN. And so we don't know what happened in those White House meetings yesterday when Ted Sarandos went and met with Trump officials, but it probably wasn't very good. And at the same time, Paramount had increased their bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN. And so at the end of the day, Ellison ends up walking away with this. Netflix refuses to counter their bid. And it seems like, the path is cleared for David Ellison to own this giant media conglomerate.
I want to underscore your point about Paramount now standing to add CNN to its portfolio. Paramount is already in control of CBS. We've seen a lot of criticism that the network has been overly compliant toward the Trump administration. Oliver, you and I both worked at CNN at one point. What could this mean for CNN's future?
I think it's pretty clear, and staffers are seeing the writing on the wall, and they are in panic mode. I mean, yesterday I spoke to a number of staffers who are fearful about the changes that are certain to come under David Ellison's ownership. And those changes include being more friendly to Donald Trump. Like that's the clear way to say this. This network is going to become more MAGA friendly under Donald Trump. That's what Donald Trump wants to see. That's why he helped deliver this giant deal to David Ellison. And if you look at what David Ellison has done since he took over CBS News, I mean, it's clear as day whether it's installing a CBS News evening anchor who salutes Marco Rubio and does softball interviews with Donald Trump, whether it's Barry Weiss holding that 60 Minutes piece before ultimately deciding to run it. There have been a number of changes at CBS News that indicate that that network is being more friendly to Trump administration officials. And I think at CNN, those changes are going to be a lot more dramatic. Remember, Donald Trump is obsessed with CNN. He watches it all the time. It's always on in the White House. He cares very much about the tone of the network and the posture of the network toward his administration. I suspect that David Ellison is going to come in and make some sweeping changes over at that network. And, you know, it's not even me suspecting it, to be honest, at this point, Anna. They're pretty much telegraphing this out loud.
And here's just a sampling of what the Ellison family would be in control of if this deal does go through. Oracle, TikTok, CBS, CNN, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Warner Brothers, and Paramount Pictures. Oliver, that much power under one family's control.
Now, I don't know if folks understand what that means, okay? They just call it out. Oracle, TikTok, CBS, Discovery. Let me give you the story now, folks, because I don't think people understand how deep this is. I'm not going to go on the independent media section yet. I just want to go on. First of all, CBS and CNN, the two most respected news sources in the past. CNN on cable, CBS on broadcast. Both of them now under the control of Trump through Ellison. All right? TikTok. A lot of younger folks get their news from TikTok. And it hasn't been all that bad in regards to TikTok and the algorithms that were used to actually pick up news based on what you like, who you follow, etc. But now, what do you think they are going to do as far as pumping or pushing the appropriate kind of news you get on TikTok? Discovery. I don't know about you, but I love the Discovery Channel. I love the type of in-depth science research stories that appear, and I think also funded, by Discovery, not Discovery, but Warner, right? That means that the stories that you hear about green energy, hydroelectrics, all these great stories that I've sat hour after hour and watched in the background on Discovery. Do you think you're going to see the same cadre of stories that educate from a scientific perspective? We have a president who says climate change is a hoax. So them owning Discovery now means a lot of those channels won't give you what you would have expected from that channel. National Geographic, now Disney. Well, we'll see. You take a look at the Paramount and the HBO. HBO used to have interesting types of specials and documentaries. Do you think you're going to get any probing documentaries on HBO anymore? Or do you think Paramount Plus is going to have any news stories that these independent producers and documentary producers are going to get funded for? Of course not. It won't be there. So what we're looking at is a complete revamp of the media system owned by Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison. But let me tell you a little bit further. There's something that very few people look at that cadre and see how serious it is. And the thing that you have to look at also is called Oracle. Oracle. You know what Oracle is? Oracle is the database system used by a large percentage, not only of the United States, but of the world. And you may say, but so what? It's just a database. It's one of the most complex relational databases. Everybody uses it. AI uses it. The government uses it. All your data is in here. What do you think having Trump in charge of that database indirectly means. When they really want to find stuff, even if said stuff is protected, supposedly through high-powered encryption, forget it. Now we'll have access to, and let me be clear here, even though you may have cloud services from many other companies, ultimately, many of them will be using the services of Ellison's Oracle. And, so when you say, okay, it's controlled by Oracle, and it's like, okay, well, I'll use Amazon's cloud services or I'll use this other ones. Ultimately speaking, they're all interconnected. And when you have this under the control of a guy like Donald Trump, right? His people. So what I'm telling you now, folks, is this is where critical thinking and education is of the utmost importance, right? AI is going to get rid of a lot of people. AI is going to get rid of a whole lot of reporters, but a whole lot of them are going to be coming over with their same old form of reporting back here at Substack and at Medium and these other places. What we have to do going forward, folks, is really have, and this is self-serving for me, of course, and I admit it to be self-serving. We are going to have to make sure and expand independent media like never before. Because again, the media is now controlled by 3 or 4 entities. And most people currently get their media from said entities, which means what we have to do is we have to dramatically expand these platforms. And right now, we're saying, yeah, let's expand the Medium platform. Let's expand the Substack platform. Let's expand. All of that is true, right? But what happens when Ellison comes and says, I want to buy Substack? Are they going to sell it? I don't know. So let me tell you ultimately where I am as an independent journalist, as independent media, what I have done. And this is something that I suggest to all independent media folks. You have to have your hands in not only the Substack basket, the Medium basket, the YouTube basket, and all these others, but you have to have your hand in your own baskets. So what I do is, if you take a look at all the platforms, if you ever went to politicsdoneright.com/ is it info or Egberto Willis? I got to remember which sometime. I make sure and throw everything in several platforms. It's rather expensive, but if Substack goes down or is sold tomorrow and I'm kicked off, I have other platforms that are completely independent. And that's what independent media is all about. Thank you so kindly for that super stack or that super chat, Dwayne. Thank you so kindly for that super chat as well, Patrick. Thank you. I think you gifted that to somebody, my brother. Thank you. But that is what I'm talking about, guys. We have to have the support that makes sure that if I'm gone from here tomorrow, I have your emails that we've gotten through Substack. But we also keep our database so that we can say, hey, we're over here now. We're over there now. Independent media is not saying, I'm going to jump on Substack and I'm going to make my life completely on Substack and wipe my hands. I'm independent. Independent media means that, and I'm speaking this to all my independent media brothers and sisters out there, mean that you have to be ready to support those who have supported you. So that when something happens on one platform, you can say, hey guys, I am over here as well. I'm over there as well. And that is what we have to do. And one of the reasons I ask you to support us at Substack is that's where it's at right now. But if tomorrow this goes under, I can say, hey guys, I am using Patreon on egbertowillies.com on politicsdoneright.com, etc. And we're all interconnected, and we will continue doing the posse together. Oh God, it's 4:01. I'm getting old. This time it flies. It flies. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. So here's what I want. I have an ask. I hope I've made the case sufficiently why it's so important to support independent media. And many of you I see in the chat already doing that, and many of you aren't. I want to ask you all who have the wherewithal to do it, please go ahead. Look, there's a lot more service stuff that I need to get. I can't do this until I'm better funded. I want to ask you guys to go ahead and support. Oh, Cheryl just put the coffee with Egberto. Let me go ahead and put that in the other chat. Thank you for that, Cheryl. Let me go ahead and put that in the other chat. Sign up. Cheryl is signing us up for Coffee with Egberto Zoom, guys. We're going to have some coffee and do a Zoom together. Remember that Cheryl is a wonderful contributor, wonderful organizer, all that good stuff, and a wonderful activist. As many as I think LBW is in the house too. Thank you for being here, beautiful. Lynette, everybody else, if I miss you, forgive me. But anyhow, please, please, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter if you're not on Substack, and go ahead and subscribe. And if you can, please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our platform or platforms, but we're doing it through Substack, Patreon, and many others. But go through Substack for right now and become a paid subscriber. It really helps me do what needs to get done. I'm putting that in the chat right now. If you're already on Substack and you're not a paid subscriber, consider being one. Please, again, it's not something to get Egberto Willies rich. You can take a look. It's not going to happen. It is about getting the job done. I got to get out of here. I want to thank all of you for spending this time with me. I may do a couple of stuff live, some Substack lives over the weekend, depending on what occurs. I want to thank you all for being here. You can email me directly, info@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.